Wireless ball technology. I know, it's awesome. They sure don't make computer accessories like they used to because, what do you know? They still exist and they still work. This also means that there was some quality put into these products to make them last as long as they have. Now, technically, you could call these e-waste, and to a certain degree, I mean, if you compare it to a brand new keyboard or a brand new mouse, then yeah, it could be classified as e-waste because these need to be cleaned up, which we are going to do in today's video. But chances are this is probably going to outlast new keyboards and new mice made today because this was back when they were using the old Microsoft logo and, well, I mean, it's not Microsoft anymore, I can tell you that. It's now Microsoft, but this is when Microsoft was actually using, a quality operating system, and they had some pretty cool hardware components to go alongside it. Just like with the Dell keyboard combo here, we also have a matching Microsoft mouse to go alongside the keyboard. And, well, what can I say? Everything here is awesome. I can't wait to start using these components more. But yeah, we really got to clean these up. Now we're going to take a closer look at everything individually, but we also have another Logitech mouse. Now I'm not entirely sure if this one works. I believe that the combos here do function, and I know that this Logitech mouse also works. Now, of course, these are wireless devices, and typically with newer ones you could probably just use Bluetooth, but in this case they're from the 2000s and they have their own separate receivers. So the keyboard combos have their own matching ones right here. This one says Microsoft, that one obviously says Dell. This has that, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. And as for the Logitech mice, we have these right here. Now the one that says Nano Receiver, I know it does work with this Logitech mouse. As for the other one, I'm not entirely sure because both of these had a lot of battery corrosion. This one does fortunately power on, but we're going to have to clean the other one to find out if it even works in the first place. As for the other one on the right here, I use it all the time with my main Logitech wireless mouse. And it's kind of like a test mouse, basically just, a confirmed working wireless mouse. But typically, I usually leave it connected up to the Hackintosh. Okay, so these might be some of the best PC peripherals to ever exist, but unless you want to suffer, I mean, you can still use these as it is, but, I mean, do you really want to use it like this when you can tell that this is a real gaming keyboard that probably hasn't been cleaned in, I don't know, maybe since it was brand new? And as for the Dell keyboard, you're not supposed to see the dust on the keycaps. Like, you can see that on camera. It is not supposed to be like that. Logitech has always made some pretty awesome accessories. Now, I don't know much about the modern Logitech, but I know that if it has this 90s logo, it's going to be awesome. So this is a classic Logitech mouse from the 2000s to early 2010s. Obviously, it can't be any newer because we still have the older design of the Logitech logo. So this is specifically the M305, and it also has the same icon as one of the receivers. Now this is the Logitech unifying logo, and this basically means that if it has that icon, then you're good to go, because even if you do lose it, you can always get a replacement. And the cool thing about the unifying standard is that you can actually use 6 devices on one single receiver. Now you can tell that this obviously does have some battery corrosion, but honestly it's not that bad. Really the worst part is zooming in and seeing the rest of, let's just zoom out and pretend we didn't see that. But as for this, all we need to do is open it up, clean up the plastics, and it's basically going to be a brand new Logitech mouse again. The second Logitech mouse here appears to be similar, but not quite the same as the first one. Wow, how insightful. I never would have known. But what I mean by that is it seems like these are from different generations. Now this one is obviously newer because it has the unifying standard, and it appears to be from around 2010, at least the initial design here. And as for this one, it does appear to be a higher end model because it does have some extra functionality, but it doesn't have the unifying icon. However, if you take a look at the font on the mouse and the receiver, it might actually end up working even if it doesn't have the icon. Hey smokers, Performance Laser here. Also, the Performance Laser itself is just built different because 2 AA's versus just 1. As for the keyboard combos here, you can tell that the Dell setup is older compared to the Microsoft one. Now this is like the Windows Vista, Windows 7 era. Meanwhile, this is like the Windows XP era. But interestingly enough, this actually has a classic Windows icon instead of the newer one on this. So even though this would be a solid keyboard for Windows XP, I'm sure it'll work for something even older like Windows 2000. Now, these older Microsoft accessories are worth restoring because they have the old company logo, which means that these are slop-free. Now, the Microsoft mouse is nothing too fancy, especially compared to the Dell right there, but it is still nice to have. It's wireless, it has 2 buttons, a scroll wheel, and it's the Microsoft Wireless Optical Mouse 2000. So right now, with the way they are, the keyboards just feel terrible. There's really no other better way I can describe this because, well, I mean, just look at it. But once we clean these up, I'm sure they're going to be pretty solid options. And even though this is not a professional mechanical gaming keyboard, it is still a gaming keyboard because, yeah, and the key travel itself actually feels pretty nice. The other cool thing about the Microsoft keyboard is that you have some extra function key functionality with F-Lock. And of course all of these other options here. Oh no! Anyways, this is the Microsoft Wireless Keyboard 1000. Dude! Now this is the only way you're supposed to use a Dell PC. Well, it's obviously because it looks awesome. I mean, wireless ball technology? The really cool part about this is that alongside the Dell branding, it also says by Logitech. So you know it's actually going to be a decent product. Now obviously the mouse itself is completely different compared to the other ones because it has this awesome ergonomic design. And this one, unlike the Microsoft one, also has a side button. There's that old school Logitech logo again, so you know it's going to be good. This is the cordless Mouseman wheel. Okay, that is just wild. And yeah, like we saw in the introduction, this has ball technology, which is just crazy to see on a wireless mouse. Now, unlike the Microsoft keyboard, this still has all of the lettering intact on all of the keycaps, and the main reason why we have this warning is because this is such an advanced gaming keyboard that you gotta be careful with it. It's gonna hold up even during the most intense Pentium 4 gaming sessions because, as you can tell, WASD, Shift, and Control are still here. And just like with the Microsoft keyboard, the keycaps on this also feel really nice. Plus, we also have some media control keys, which is always nice to have. Not only do we have a Logitech logo on the keyboard itself, like this is physically a part of the plastic, it's also called the cordless iTouch keyboard. So this is simultaneously a Logitech setup, a Dell setup, and also an Apple setup. So I can also use this with a Macintosh because it literally has the naming scheme. And of course, who can forget about timeless designs such as the Microsoft Egg and the 90s Dell plastic box? Now, even though these are not as compact as the Logitech receiver, the advantage here is that they're not as easy to lose. I haven't really looked into the details of the receivers themselves, but it is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a box with a button to connect the keyboard and mouse up to it, and well, that's basically it. But the Egg does actually have LEDs for caps lock, num lock, and F lock. Now, I'm not entirely sure how it'll work on the Dell. Maybe there's some special Dell driver software for like an on-screen display or something fancy like that. But the main reason why it's on this and not on the keyboard is to save on battery life because these are of course wireless devices. So for the Logitech, it's the cordless mouse and keyboard receiver. And the Egg is the Microsoft Wireless Desktop Receiver 3.1. And we also have some information on how to use wireless technology. And last but definitely not least is this. It's an HP Windows Media Center remote, and this is basically the future of television, at least for back in the Windows XP era. Nowadays we have smart TVs, or I guess I should say slop TVs, because most of the time they just want to show you advertisements. But with this, all you have to do is connect your computer up to your television, which chances are those old TVs are probably still working to this day, and you connect this up to the computer, so that way you have an IR receiver for the remote. Now the receiver itself is nothing too fancy, but as you can see, it does have a lot of USB cables, so you can easily connect this up within an entertainment system. And just like the older Logitech peripherals, it's really cool to see the older HP logo with the Invent underneath it. And this is model number OVU400103/00. What kind of model name is that? The model name on Sony devices makes more sense than this. Now, at first glance, it appears to be a pretty typical remote control for the era, with a power button, playback controls, and a D-pad. But the closer you look at this, you can see that this is no ordinary remote. These options right here, DVD menu, TV, radio, music, pictures, and videos, are basically shortcuts for the different categories within Windows Media Center. There's also a volume control with a mute button here, the Windows button, and a channel or a page up and down selector. And you also have the options between live TV, a guide, recorded TV, and you even have an entire numpad. Otherwise, on the back, there's no real information to tell you that immediately this is an HP Windows remote, which I guess is kind of the point because at least it'll blend in with the rest of your hi-fi gear. So now that we know a little bit more about what we have and the current condition that everything's in, we're going to test everything out with our HP ZBook G3. Now, it may be more accurate to use with a Windows XP machine like this Dell Optiplex, but if it works on Windows 10, it's going to work on basically everything. By the way, when it comes time to actually making use of these different accessories, I will try and find all the software that works with them. For example, the Microsoft keyboard combo should have compatible software because I have a Microsoft mouse and a Microsoft keyboard that works with software with Windows and macOS. So I'm sure that this will probably be compatible with either the same software or something very similar, and I'm sure that there's probably something similar for either the Dell or the Logitech accessories. I'm not entirely sure about this. Maybe it's just a plug-and-play solution for Windows Media Center, but if there is something available that also works with macOS, that would be really awesome to have. What's also funny is that even though I use a wireless Logitech mouse all the time, I've never taken a look at the software side of things. Now, it may exist, it may not exist. I guess it depends on the model, but this is just another thing that I'm going to have to look into, and maybe we could actually end up customizing extra features, including the scroll wheel, because I know that there's extra buttons if you move it to the left or the right. So we have known working batteries inside the keyboard and the mouse, and as for the receiver, Windows automatically detected that it was a USB receiver, and it says that it's good to go. It actually uses two separate USB ports for each of the devices here, but with the Microsoft Egg, it only uses one USB port. And of course, with wireless ball technology, it just works. So yeah, it's definitely going to need a little bit of a clean, but otherwise it is detected, it is working as a mouse, and the same goes for the keyboard. And it also feels quite nice to use. We also have good news for the Microsoft setup. It also works. So the Egg itself lights up, it connects with the keyboard and the mouse. The mouse itself has an optical sensor which you can actually see. It does work. Now this Logitech mouse does work. As you can see, we have a green LED and it does work as intended. This is one of the mice that I did try out before filming this. Now, as for this one, I can't get it to power up, but I'm not going to say that this is completely unusable yet because there was a lot of corrosion. Chances are it's just not making a good connection. So we're going to clean this up anyways. Hopefully it does power up, but even if it doesn't, we still have this one. It works! So this is awesome to see. All I did was plug in the receiver, install some batteries, and it automatically detects it within Windows 10. And this is on YouTube. We can even go to different tracks. Now the Windows button here doesn't do anything. This might be specific to Media Center Edition, but the fact that it's still able to recognize it and, just play back normally, that's awesome. It's also hilarious that this is an HP product and it's on an HP laptop, so I guess it was meant to be. The other cool thing is that the D-pad itself also works. So you can scrub between the video here, skip forward. So overall, this is super awesome to see actually working as is, and I can't wait to try this out with the Mac. Hopefully it also does work with iTunes. After a lot of time and a lot of cleaning later, we're finally done. Now for you guys, it was basically instantaneous. You got to see the before and after, and well, as you can see, these are basically as brand new as they're possibly going to be. Now I found out that the Dell keyboard itself is from 2002 and the Microsoft keyboard is from 2009. At least that's when the date codes indicate that these were made. So they do definitely match the time period, and I'm just really happy with how everything turned out because it clearly looks a lot better and it is so much more usable now because it's actually clean. We also have an update to the second Logitech mouse. Now it does actually power up. There was so much corrosion that it just wasn't able to do anything, but with it cleaned up, it does power up, but unfortunately I can't test it out. And the reason why is because this uses a different standard compared to the unifying standard, so yeah. Even though it's not really usable at the moment because I don't have the specific receiver for it, I still cleaned it up because it is still a nice Logitech mouse, and if I ever do get one that works with it, then I have a working mouse. And also during the cleaning process, I disassembled the mice because it just helped a lot. There was a lot of corrosion in the other Logitech mouse, but there was also some corrosion in this one. Now fortunately, these didn't have any batteries, so the contacts are completely clean, but this one was pretty bad because, well, the Microsoft mouse, as well as the keyboard itself, these were in probably the worst condition out of everything here. But with all of this cleaned up, I mean, you can hardly tell that it's the same keyboard. The Dell mouse was probably the cleanest out of all of them. Really, the only thing that it needed was some regular maintenance with the wireless ball technology. But apart from that, it was basically brand new. So this cleaned up really well. The Microsoft mouse is basically brand new again. And this is going to be super awesome to use alongside the matching keyboard. As for the Windows Media Center remote, it cleaned up basically immediately because it really didn't have that much dirt or debris on it. There was no battery corrosion, and honestly, it was kind of just like the Dell keyboard where it was a little bit dusty, but that was about it. The Dell keyboard itself is just awesome. Now, even though it's not a completely brand new example because we have some wear and tear on the keycaps themselves, it's still in fantastic shape. We don't have any broken plastics. There was no battery corrosion, which is awesome. It still works as intended, and this is the least of my concerns. It does feel excellent. The keycaps themselves have nice key travel, and even though it's a membrane keyboard, it doesn't exactly sound like a completely low-end e-waste style of keyboard, so this is going to be really nice to use. And what's also really cool about this is that even though it was obviously dirty in terms of a lot of dust, it seems like it was used probably for like a short period of time, or maybe just it was used for a while, but not to the extent where it was completely as bad as the Microsoft one. Like, obviously we have wear and tear on the keycaps, which indicates that it was used, but the type of dust that this had was more like it was sitting around for a long time. Honestly, this one probably has been used less than the Microsoft one. For the Microsoft keyboard, how do I say this? If it wasn't for me restoring it, this would have been completely cooked as e-waste. Like, this was just bad. It made the Dell keyboard look like it was brand new in comparison with the dust. The more keycaps I removed, the worse it got. But you know what? We managed to clean it all up. We got rid of all the dirt and debris. We cleaned all the keycaps individually, as well as for the Dell keyboard itself. So I removed all the keycaps. I disassembled the keyboard itself. I completely cleaned everything here with soap and water because, well, isopropyl alcohol helps, but not for this. A lot of the time that I spent with this was actually waiting for everything to completely dry out, but it was completely worth it because now we have a fantastic usable set, 2 keyboards and 2 wireless mice. Now these are of course Ultimate Gaming keyboards, and we have the evidence right here with WASD, shift, and control the way they are because it's physical wear and tear on the keycaps. No amount of cleaning is going to fix that. The only real solution is to get a new replacement where, it doesn't look like this. But honestly, I don't really care about that. The most important thing is that the keyboard itself actually works as intended and the housing itself is in good condition. So we don't have any broken plastics, just like on the Dell keyboard. And even with the wear and tear on the keycaps, it's not like the keycap itself is broken. I mean, it's still completely usable. It just may not be a brand new example, but again, I don't really care. And in fact, you could actually view this as an advantage because, well, even if they do get more wear and tear, it was already like this to begin with, so it's not like you're causing damage to a brand new keyboard because, well, yeah. And finally, we have the receivers. Now, these two for the keyboard combos were definitely in the best condition, at least in terms of the entire keyboard combo set, and that's mainly just because, well, these aren't an active input device. It's not like this is an optical mouse, even though you can kind of see it with the egg here. These are just intended to stay plugged into the computer and receive the information from the keyboard and the mouse. This, however, required a bit more work because there was just more dirt and debris on the receiver itself, and there was also some paint residue on the cable, but as you can see, it cleaned up really nicely. Now we still have some cosmetic flaws, like this scratch right here, but apart from that, it's actually in really good condition. As we found out earlier, it does work, so that's also nice to see. So even though it's not a perfect example of a mint condition HP receiver, it honestly could be way worse. A lot of the scuffs and scratches also cleaned up really nicely. And with that, I would say we're at a good point to wrap up today's video because it's all restored, it's all cleaned up, and most importantly, I can start to make use of these accessories, which is awesome. I'm really happy with the end result here, but believe it or not, keyboard restoration videos like this take forever to complete, especially compared to an actual desktop video. Like, this took less time and this took less time to complete as compared to this. Whenever you have a lot of keycaps, it adds up quickly. You clean these all individually, and then after that, you also have to wait for these to completely dry out. Multiply that by 2, and yeah, it eats up time like nothing. Again though, it was worth it, and I'd much rather use older accessories like this as compared to newer ones because you just don't see accessories like this anymore, and they go really well with the older systems. Now, even though this video may not have been as exciting as a Power Mac G4 or even the XP machine here, hopefully you guys still enjoyed it. If you want to see even more keyboard restoration videos, I've made some in the past, and I'll have them available within the video information here. And believe it or not, I have even more keyboards that I've yet to restore, so if you want to see those as well, then consider subscribing. And if you want to see these accessories in action with systems like this, then stick around because, yeah, we got a lot of awesome content in the works. But that's it for now. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.